Clack, clack. A frantic rhythm echoes through the posh palace halls as someone rushes inside. Ignoring the bowing staff, our handsome lord demands, "Where is she?" and blurs past them. "In her room, sir." The gods must have played favorites to bring her back. Her sheer stubbornness was legendary. A servant swings the door open as the noble charges in. Looking like he hasn't slept in a century, he panics. "Is she okay?" The doctor jumps. "Meet Lord Charles." The doctor sighs. The fever broke, and luckily, her pretty face is unscathed. Charles goes quiet, but the doctor's shifty eyes say there's a big but coming. "Spit it out. What's wrong with my sister?" Cue the world's most awkward silence. As the doctor babbles, Charles's patience hits zero. He storms into the sick room like a hurricane. "Rosalind, you're alive," he shouts. There she sits on the bed, looking like a lost kitten. Dressed in white silk, she just stares blankly. "Rosalind?" Charles tries again, sweating a little. She chews her lip nervously before parroting his own question back like a confused parrot. Everyone freezes. Meet our leading lady, the Amnesiac-to-be, Rosalind of House Heatherwood. With emerald eyes and raven hair, she's a total knockout. Until that disastrous hunting trip happened, she was the only missing corpse. This messy tournament went down in a wild borderland. House Thornbush hosted it in a place crawling with oversized monsters. Great idea, right? It was basically an imperial flex to show the peasants that monsters aren't that scary. The crown and scepter were pure bling divine gold and gems that screamed, "We're rich!" Every VIP and shiny knight in the empire showed up to flex their skills. The second prince's white knights and the third prince's green knights were all there. Plus the Thornbush and Spindrift squads, basically a who is who of noble bodyguards. It looked like a glorious parade, until everything went south in the most tragic way. Day 5, Balta decides to crash the party by starting an unannounced border war. They ambushed the unsuspecting knights. Our heroes fought like lions, but things got messy fast. The brawl raged until dawn, but Balta cheated with a super deadly, illegal poison. Not even holy magic could fix it. Bodies piled up, leaving the empire in total shambles. Show's over. Everyone went home, but some knights stayed to clean up the nightmare. They were collecting corpses. The white knights got absolutely wrecked, even losing their boss. After a depressing head count, they began the long, sad trek back to the capital. While checking the roll call, the aide realized someone was missing from the alive list. It was Rosalind. Not just an heiress, but a top-tier knight who kicked serious butt. She wasn't a powerhouse, but her never-give-up attitude impressed the late vice commander. He loved her potential. He begged everyone to find her, hoping she was just injured. They searched everywhere, but the raven-haired beauty had vanished like a ghost in the wind. Totally defeated, they packed their bags and headed home empty-handed. Talk about a fail. But House Heatherwood wasn't giving up. They sent their own loyal crew to find her. 6 days later, they found her clinging to life on a cliffside. Talk about dramatic timing. Now Charles is signed like a tragic hero. Does she really not know who I am? He facepalms in pure stress. The family doctor looks on, probably wishing he had better news. My lord, she's totally blank. She doesn't even know her own name or this house. But wait, she spotted the family crest and stared at it with those big emerald eyes. She whispered Heatherwood like she was solving a riddle. The doctor's eyebrows hit the ceiling. He thinks it is just a temporary glitch in her brain. She might actually recover. Are you sure, Doc? Charles asks. But the man warns her mind is still super fragile. Honestly, he cannot promise she will not stay this way forever. Yikes. Charles clings to a hope. If the body recovers, the mind will follow. If they're connected, she'll be whole. The Duke orders the mourning veils down. The vigil ends. The Empire must know Rosalind is home. It was high time the entire kingdom learned the truth. Rosalind had finally returned to the palace. He asks if father was told and vows to thank Countess Thornbush for her immense help. With a regal wave, Charles orders a gift for the Countess and prepares a personal thank you letter. Rising from his desk, Charles assigns a lady-in-waiting and restricts all access to his sister's room. He demands total privacy. No one shall enter the young lady's chambers without his express permission. Under no circumstances can a single word about her condition leak beyond these palace walls. Has she eaten yet? He asks. The flustered maids admit they only prepared a light lunch. It was a meal meant for a weak patient, but Rosalind's appetite was anything but frail. She'd already inhaled 3 full meals. The maids realize she can finally eat like a normal person. Charles orders dinner served in his sister's room. He sits alone, lost in his own thoughts. As the maids depart, he gazes into the distance, reflecting on the weight of their conversation. Relief washes over him, seeing her eat is a blessing. He looks at their portrait and smiles. She's safe at last. She is his precious older sister, and he owes her his very life. Holding the portrait, he plans to tell her at dinner just how happy he is she's back. Moments later, Charles's face twists in disgust. Visceral chewing noises echo from his elegant sister. Rosalind is absolutely demolishing bread. The maids watch the chaotic dinner scene in stunned silence. This reminds him of the doctor's warning: besides memory loss, her behavior has gone completely wild. Suddenly, Rosalind lunges for the meat on Charles's plate, jolting him out of his brotherly daydream. She snatches a steak, sending salad flying. He's shocked by this sudden, carnivorous assault on his dinner. She chews the meat with primal intensity, getting sauce everywhere and staining her white nightgown. The doctor wasn't kidding. She's acting less like a noble lady and more like a cave woman. A heavy silence falls, broken only by the aggressive, rhythmic crunch of Rosalind's messy meal. Charles sighs deeply, assessing the chaos. He asks a maid if red meat is even safe. Shouldn't she eat something light? The maid explained she'd had soup, but her body craved more. Small bits of meat in her morning soup did wonders. Her strength was finally returning to her. Charles offers a pained, enigmatic smile as he stares at his ruined, steakless dinner plate. His sister literally robbed him. The maid apologizes and rushes to fetch the Duke a new meal. Charles thanks her, settling for a spoonful of soup while watching the wild creature before him. He observes her in disbelief. Did she always have the soul of a predator beneath her elegance? Slow down, please, he suggests. That much red meat might wreak havoc on your noble stomach. Her emerald eyes flash with a sharp intensity, then she ignores him and keeps on eating. He remembers her lecturing him about proper chewing. Oh, how the tables have truly turned. He watches the carnage with a distant gaze. This mess is the polar opposite of her grace. That memory is a bittersweet reminder of the days when they used to dine together elegantly. She was his teacher once, drilling him on etiquette, manners, and the art of being noble. Now he must teach her everything again. Life is strange, and he feels a pang of nostalgia. Rosalind stops, staring at her fingers, which are now completely covered in rich meat sauce. She starts to lick it. Charles lunges forward, grabbing her hand to stop the etiquette disaster. Don't do that, he gasps. Such behavior? It's simply not befitting of a lady like you. The opulent room is bathed in the golden, deceptive light of the late afternoon sun. Meanwhile, the table is a total war zone of messy plates, scattered greens, and meat. Sauces everywhere. He tries to help her remember. It's me, Charles. Your younger brother. I'm your little brother, 2 years younger. It's been an eternity since we were last together. Between savage bites of steak, our nightly heroine Rosalind barely humors her brother's chatter. Charles nostalgically recalls their old letters before dropping a massive bombshell about her past life. Apparently, she was a top-tier Imperial Powerhouse within the legendary Order of the White Knights. She protected the second prince, clad in armor that shined brighter than her future. Rosalind just stares blankly, focusing more on her bread than her supposed heroic glory. Clueless if she's even listening. Charles explains their father was the legendary Count of Heatherwood. He was a border guarding hero whose imperial duties kept him far from his precious daughter. Despite his absence, he worried constantly. Though, honestly, the man was terrifyingly serious. One look at his battle-scarred, scary face would send local toddlers running for their lives. Yet, he was a total softy for justice, despising any noble who bullied the commoners. He was such a legendary icon that they literally named a vintage wine after him. Rosalind finally reacts, her eyes glazing over as she soulfully whispers the word ... wine. Charles chuckles, quickly apologizing because his sister supposedly has a deadly grape allergy. One sip equals game over. But then, a terrifying realization strikes the poor brother's heart. His steak was definitely seasoned with wine. Did she just eat the forbidden fruit? Panic mode activated. He lunges toward her, grabbing her shoulders like a madman. He frantically checks her breathing, terrified she will start itching like she used to. She just shakes her head, confused, as he demands she open wide for inspection. After a frantic mouth check, Charles finally exhales. No anaphylactic shock today, thank goodness. He is still bracing for a delayed reaction when a maid crashes the party in total hysterics. The maid joins the checkup marathon, terrified her lady's throat is swelling shut. Charles finally sighs in relief, realizing his sister isn't actually dropping dead. The sobbing maid begs for forgiveness, never dreaming Rosalind would scavenge food from his plate. He waves it off, blaming himself while Rosalind just blinks at their dramatic prayers. They are thanking the heavens for her miraculous recovery from a lifelong allergy. As the maid dashes off for medicine, Charles leans back, feeling something is ... off. He glances over and sees his sister casually swirling a glass of forbidden wine. Deep in thought, she actually takes a sip. Charles's brain starts doing backflips. She ignored her favorite avocado salad but licked the wine sauce plates clean. Very suspicious. He remembers the old Rosalind who was the ultimate master of noticing tiny details. She used to lecture him on reading people like an open book. A twitching eyebrow or a subtle eye roll nothing escaped her razor-sharp nightly gaze. She claimed the smallest twitch was a total confession. Now, Charles is the one watching. He stares at the stranger as a brand new morning hits the Heatherwood estate. The gossip mill is already spinning. Maids are whispering about the lady's bizarre health. One maid giggles that Rosalind finally used a fork, while another is totally bewildered. Is this even the same woman? The transformation is honestly making their heads spin. She went from a cold genius to strangely approachable. Suddenly, a wild Rosalind appears. She zooms past the gossiping maids like a chaotic whirlwind in the hallway. The flustered maids decide barefoot walking is just the latest healthy noble trend. They swoon over her messy dark hair. It is giving untamed forest goddess vibes. She has become a sophisticated enigma, and the rumors are spreading like wildfire. From palace halls to city streets, everyone is obsessed with the Count's daughter. Charles reads the tabloids in horror, wondering who leaked this divine nonsense. Apparently, she is a goddess who returned from the shadows to save her house. A butler nervously reports that wild rumors now paint the lady as a saintly beacon of hope. Charles finds it hilarious. Sure, he let her walk barefoot, but this is next level. How on earth did a barefoot stroll evolve into such an absurd holy legend? He knew the local kids worshipped her, but this fame has spiraled out of his control. Praying the gossip dies down, he orders the butler to keep his ears to the ground. Duty calls. The butler reminds Charles that Countess Heatherwood has finally returned home. Mom wants lunch with her darling children, so Charles gallantly heads off to fetch his sister. Striding elegantly through the palace, he spots Rosalind slumped oddly by a window. She looks like a sleeping doll, peacefully leaning against the cold stone wall. Her lips are fluttering in a silent whisper, making Charles pause to investigate the mystery. Outside the glass, a group of maids are giggling while they discuss their daily palace chores. The girls chat happily about cleaning. Totally unaware their handsome master is eavesdropping nearby, inside, Rosalind is nap-sensing. As one maid mentions she wants to buy new clothes. As the maids plan a shopping trip, Rosalind quietly parrots every single word they say. While the maids dream of shopping, Charles watches his sister's strange mimicry in total shock. He flashes back to the past, remembering when he and his sister were inseparable. The old Rosalind was sharp, always telling him that the devil is in the details. She warned him that even a tiny nuance could expose a person's web of lies. She trusted his instincts to stay vigilant, honoring the proud Heatherwood family bloodline. If everything but her face has changed, can he still find a sister in this stranger? Suddenly, she snaps her head toward him. Talk about a heart-stopping jump scare. Charles flinches like a startled cat, swallowing hard while trying to recover his noble cool. He awkwardly mentions that their mother is home and expects them both for lunch. At the mere mention of food, Rosalind's eyes sparkle with the hunger of 1,000 suns. She grabs his hand and speaks his name with a clarity that's almost terrifying. "Let's go together." Her sudden, perfect composure leaves Charles completely baffled. How did she go from a confused mess to a refined lady in 5 seconds? He realizes she's just copy-pasting the maids' voices to adapt to her surroundings. He orders a maid to dress her up while he hides in his office to overthink. The butler follows him like a worried shadow, doubting if this lunch is a good idea. The big secret? Charles hasn't told their mother about Rosalind's little personality reset? The butler warns that keeping the Countess in the dark might trigger her famous temper. Charles insists on the lie, remembering his mother's fragile health. She just returned from a restful village retreat, and he doesn't want to ruin it. Why worry her with the news that her daughter has basically become a human parrot? The butler keeps prying until Charles snaps, forcing the man to stammer about her cuteness. He babbles about how adorable she is, nearly tripping over his own feet in fear. Charles knows Mom will notice her daughter isn't the perfect lady she used to be. He just needs more time, letting out a long, stressed sigh of pure sibling exhaustion. At least she's using a fork now. He'll just have to wing this delicate family crisis. Her ability to mimic the maids is brilliant, but honestly, it's also super creepy. She's a fast learner, sure, but the whole situation is just plain weird. Before the big meal, he gives Rosalind a crash course on how to not act suspicious. Feeling a mix of hype and dread, they walk in to face the Grand Countess. Clad in regal purple and pearls, their mother looks every bit the terrifyingly elegant matriarch. Charles fails to distract Mom from her travel logs, especially once she spots Rosalind. Mom strikes! She's squishing Rosalind's cheeks, chirping that she's heard all the latest gossip. She frets over the mysterious disappearance, but Rosalind just gives a deadpan. "I'm fine." The cheek squeezing goes into overdrive. Mom hits her with the ultimate, "I told you so." Knighthood is a no-go. Charles cuts in, claiming Mom is just cranky from travel fatigue. "Time for a nap, Mom." As she settles, Rosalind takes her seat with zero elegance. Charles breathes a sigh of relief. Rosalind is silent, just staring at the food like a hungry ghost. Lunch is served, but as Rosalind reaches for bread, the roll decides to make a break for it. It hits the floor, and Rosalind dives after it, giving the butlers a collective heart attack. "Forget ladylike." She snatches that floor bread and starts inhaling it, ignoring the entire room. Charles and Mom are paralyzed. Their perfect lady just treated royal etiquette like trash. She's devouring that floor bread. Then she suddenly resets, wiping her face with terrifyingly perfect grace. Talk about whiplash. She beams at them with a gaze so sweet, it's actually suspicious. Charles is screaming internally. We're doomed. The table vibe goes from cozy to chaotic. Rosalind is totally zen, but Charles is spiraling. He forgot the don't eat from floors rule. He never thought he'd need to explain floor food etiquette. Mom's eyes dart between them like a ping pong match. The Countess is short-circuiting. Dabbing away, "My daughter is a savage," tears with her silk handkerchief. After the update, Mom sobs that while Rosalind wasn't a world-class beauty, she was at least sane. She was the Empire's smartest girl. NOW, she's just a bread-eating barbarian. Mom, drop the drama. She pivots to Charles, demanding to know if Dad's seen this disaster yet. I told him she just bumped her head. Meanwhile, Rosalind keeps snacking, totally oblivious. Mom's green eyes are on high alert, checking for lost brain cells. Rosalind? Totally vibing with her meal. Charles swears she's still clever, but Mom is on a mission to solve the broken daughter case. All this stress is giving the Countess a real migraine. Parenting is such a drag. She's looking faint. Charles swoops in to escort her away before more floorboard incidents occur. Thud, a mountain of documents hits the desk. The aide looks like he's about to be buried. Charles asks, eyeing the paper fortress, like it holds the secrets of the universe. The aide brags about his hard work, but Charles is already deep diving into the intel. The butler's grinning smugly, though he can't believe Charles is into once-upon-a-time stories. Fairy tales, sir. At your age? He's confused why his master is reading bedtime stories now. But he's a sharp one. He thinks he's finally sniffed out the real motive behind the search. Charles stays stone-cold silent, letting the tension build in the luxurious office. The aide tries to spill a hunch, but Charles cuts him off. Quiet, I'm focused. He's onto something huge. Leave and don't breathe a word of this to anyone. Got it? Creak. Charles slips onto the balcony, looking for answers in the Empire's dark, vast forest. The trees look ominous. He looks back at the legend, the part where the nightmare begins. Enter at your own risk or be swallowed by the shadow. Spooky stuff for a sunny day. It's a phantom stalking the woods, a shapeshifter mimicking its unlucky human victims. The tailies change from town to town, but the core horror is always the same. Every story says the same thing. Stay away from the deep, dark parts of the woods. A monster born of shadows. Charles wants to scoff, but his gut says it's real. He flips the pages until bingo. An actual eyewitness report from a terrified local. A local herb gatherer took a nasty tumble down a ravine and got knocked out cold. He woke up paralyzed in the dirt, staring at the canopy for what felt like ages. Staring at the leaves, he suddenly felt a chilling presence creeping closer and closer. Was it just the trees playing tricks? Through that pesky morning mist, our poor villager squinted for a better look. Suddenly, a shadow lurched with lethal grace. It was blurry, sure, but definitely creeping closer and closer. Talk about a bad first date with destiny. He never believed in monsters before, but this was terrifying. Those tavern ghost stories finally made sense. The local drunks always whispered about shadow omens, saying that the shadow appears when death comes knocking. Stranded and alone, our hero was in quite the pickle. Bleeding and stuck, he looked like a snacks to go for that shadow. It just loomed there at first, playing hard to get before the final strike. Desperate, he snatched up some squashed medicinal berries. Miraculously whole after his fall and shoveled them down like a man on a mission to survive, hoping for a miracle cure as the pain finally numbed. But just as he felt a spark of hope, the creature started moonwalking back into the trees. Our confused villager couldn't wrap his head around it. How was this a shadow? It looked more like a grumpy little puff of smoke to him. Then things got weird. That smoke cloud started doing a human impression, morphing into a familiar silhouette. Suddenly, it became his own personal shadow. Meanwhile, Charles jumped as a noise broke his concentration. He spun around, heart racing. Nothing but silence and the wind flirting with the balcony doors. He squinted into the gloom, seeing Zip. He tucked his secret papers away safety first, right? Time to investigate. He grabbed his sword, though any thief here would be disappointed by his messy office. He eased the door open, but a blur darted past. Sword ready, he prepared to strike the intruder. He demanded to know who was there, only to find his beautiful sister Rosalind standing there. Not even a blink of fear from her. Charles froze pointy steel and siblings don't mix well. She stared at the blade like a boring fashion accessory. Charles was speechless, totally lost for words. Then he spotted it red stains on the floor. Someone had been absolutely wrecked right in his study. A total mess left behind. He glanced at his sister's dripping hands, and his stomach did a flip. Did she really kill him barehanded? That's some serious girl power, especially against an armed man. The realization hit like a cold shower. This wasn't human strength. This was some supernatural drama unfolding. With a surge of panic, he pinned Rosalind to the ground, his blade keeping this dangerous sister in check. She stared back with an empty gaze that would give anyone goosebumps. Though shaking like a leaf, he finally choked out the question, "Who are you?" She tried to charm him by whispering his name. The steel shook against her skin, yet she didn't flinch. Suddenly, a wave of nostalgia hit Charles. He remembered the sweet sister who wouldn't hurt a fly. In deep denial, tears began to stream down. Sobbing like a lead in a tragic drama, he refused to believe this was his darling sister. Switching to scary brother mode, he asked if she thought he was too soft to strike her down. Pretty face or not, he demanded the truth. Through his tears, he barked for it to drop the act. "Where is my sister?" he wailed. She just gave him the silent treatment for a long, tense beat. The moonlight danced on his sword. Then her gaze turned venomous talk about a total personality shift. Her eyes glowed an eerie green with snake-like slits. She touched the blade with those bloody hands, yikes. The truth was out. She was a shadow. Charles could only weep as his world fell apart. She claimed to be Rosalind's shadow, her green eyes shimmering with a dangerous, serpentine hunger. Pure snake vibes. This shadow had been lurking in the mountain forests for literally thousands of years. Way before humans even built empires. Sometimes it played bird, posing as a dark raven, or even a tiny bug. Occasionally, it went full beast mode with sharp claws and teeth to match. But those red eyes were a total giveaway. When it shifted, the shadow became a powerhouse. Way scarier than any regular forest animal. Yet, this grumpy shadow wasn't officially a monster. Because nobody ever caught a glimpse of its true, primitive form. Pretty stealthy, right? It was just a puff of mist or a pile of sand totally ghosting its enemies. It could vanish into thin air. But honestly, for all its hype, it wasn't even a good hunter. Disguised as a cute red-eyed bunny, it hunted for souls on death's doorstep. Talk about a diet! This picky eater lurked by cliffs, starving for ages. On Enchanted Mountain, our fluffy predator waited for poor souls to take a tumble. Human snacks are the best. But then, a new countess ruled House Thornbush. She vowed to wipe out every monster, hiring hunters to do her dirty work. Mercenaries cleared the woods, leaving our shadow friend with a very empty stomach. No food, no problem. Until one day, a delicious new scent caught its nose. A dying night. Time to ditch the bunny suit and reveal its smoky form. Poof, shadow mode. But eating living souls comes with some nasty mythological consequences. Patience is key. It hovered over Rosalind, waiting for her final heartbeat. These cliffs don't do mercy. Our shadow knew this waiting game all too well. Paralyzed, Rosalind watched death approach, but then the plot thickened in the weirdest way. With her last breath, she called out. The shadow was floored. This wasn't the script. No fear, no tears. Her eyes held a look it hadn't seen in centuries. As it stared, she reached out a trembling hand. Was she trying to touch it? Pure curiosity? Our gutsy heroine actually poked the terrifying wall of black smoke. She grabbed it. This dying lady just snatched a piece of a literal monster.